Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo here with the Koalition.com. I am with Dana Abercrombie. We are going to be talking about Wonder Woman. Okay, the movie that just came out not too long ago, courtesy for the DCU as well as also WB, Warner Brothers, DC Comics. Dana, what's up? How you been?
Hello, everyone. I've been good. Excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, now as a little bit of background context, a little bit of kind of prologue here. For us here on the site, we never really got a chance to have a good discussion about Wonder Woman. I wanted to do so a while back when the movie was still fresh out on everybody's minds, but with all the prep that was going down for E3 and all the other kinds of like reviews and content we had to get done within that time frame, things just got muddied up, and again, it was just a little bit hectic all over. But finally, now that E3's over, and even though we're still doing a lot of work, which again, you guys could be looking forward to all the content going up on the Koalition.com throughout the rest of this entire week by the time you're listening to this. But I want to still talk about Wonder Woman, because I still think that there's a good conversation to be had there. Now, Dana, you saw the movie. Give me your quick-fire thoughts about Wonder Woman. Did you like the movie? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I'm going to be very honest with you. I came in there with all full intentions of not seeing the movie at all. I was not looking forward to it. I had the very biased opinion that it was going to suck because we had previous DC movies that wasn't very good. And I was completely in awe of what I seen, of how they wrote the script, of acted every single thing, how they handled it. I was just sitting there in amazement.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie as well, too. Again, most people that saw the movie that didn't have any, like, preconceived notions or anything, I feel like, have been outspoken about how much they enjoyed the movie. Even if they didn't, like, think the movie was the best ever, they still, overall, most people, you would say, I think, enjoyed it as they saw it in the theaters, correct?
Absolutely. It wasn't perfect, not by a long shot, but it good at what it tried to do. I think the part that it was successful in, it went beyond of what I thought it was going to exceed.
Yeah.
So that's why, for me, it really kind of like was, I loved it. I was shocked by it. And I think that shock factor really helped elevate it.
For me, I think that the shock factor, for me personally, and I think I've seen with a lot of other people besides yourself, is that this is the actual first good, as far as like, considered good DCEU movie. Now, I didn't say DC movie because there's been other good DC movies in the past, but DCEU, as far as like the DC Cinematic Universe, the DC Extended Universe, for what a lot of people have been calling it, as well as WB has been calling it. This is the first one I feel like has been generally just giving people good vibes when they leave the theater, and I think that's a great thing.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
So overall, one of the things that we were discussing beforehand before we started recording was that I felt like the biggest discussions about Wonder Woman, I feel like, are outside of the movie itself. And the reason why I say that, I've talked about this with a few people, is because there's a lot of different feelings and emotions about Wonder Woman as a property, being, this is her first live action incarnation that's a live action film. Not necessarily a TV show, because remember Linda Carter from back in the day, that was the first live-action interpretation of Wonder Woman, but she hasn't really been given as many live-action interpretations as a lot of the other DC heroes. She's had more animated DC outings than any of the other heroes have before, or at least than any of the other compared to the characters of DC's roster. Again, Batman has had countless, Superman has had countless, and many other DC, even B and C listers, have had more live action versions than Wonder Woman, which is a thing to say. I think that provides a somewhat of a interesting conversation about the commentary on, like, again, film, TV, the way that characters are presented and protagonists. Overall, as Wonder Woman's first outing in a live action version of her, besides Batman v Superman, which again, I'm not really counting that because this is the first true like focus on her.
And also besides the canceled NBC show.
Yeah, and the canceled NBC show, and we can't really count that because it was canceled. And we saw that, and that was a good thing that didn't come out, because I felt like that was nowhere near the level of quality of what we got now. Nowhere near that. But what did you think about this being her first real outing, in movies and theater and in a live action film?
I think that she had a lot to live up to because of it. I think also it came down to a lot of factors. You had the fact that there's a stigma that women wouldn't sell a movie. There's also there being so many failed attempts beforehand on just in DCU movies itself. And I think that because all of its failings, It allowed people to truly craft a good script. It allowed people to go in there knowing that we had to do our best because we're going to get ripped to shreds on numerous points, on saying that women can't, you know, can't be the superhero in the movie and be the main one to carry a movie.
No.
And also,
Yeah.
DCU movies itself has been so poorly written and so poorly projected that they had a lot to prove. And because of this, they truly, for me, they took the time to craft a good story. They did go into the origin a little bit. I would have liked it a little bit more, but they made it up to date. They made it modern, and they was able to work very well with what they got.
So I'm kind of on the flip side of that because I don't think necessarily a lot of what was riding on the movie was necessarily because of a female protagonist or a female heroine that's like, you know, the main focus of a film and such. Because I think we've had that in other movies that aren't necessarily superhero movies. I mean, we've had movies like Lucy, a lot of the stuff for Mad Max. Even though Mad Max was the title character, we had Furiosa, and we've had other movies that have had female-centric characters or female focal points for their films.
Right, but we didn't have this type of level.
Yeah, not on this type of level for a superhero film. That's what I think is the big thing.
Yeah.
And I think the more poignant part of this all was that this was another DC film after prior to Wonder Woman, we had three DC films that were kind of lackluster in the eyes of like the general public, and I feel that's where a lot of the burn came on Wonder Woman, because I think at this point that if Wonder Woman had been a flop and if it wasn't written well and if it became, you know, one thing or another that wasn't what it ended up becoming in the end, I think like a lot of people would have been done with the DCEU, and deservedly so, because getting burned 2 or 3 times, four times even, I feel like at that point it's just, you know, Warner Brothers just wasn't getting it with their superheroes. Like a lot of the success with Marvel Studios and what they've been doing with the MCU is because I feel like they've had such an intimate understanding of their heroes and mapping out a lot of what's going on with their films over years and all that luxury of time to tell those stories and stuff. I feel like just Warner Brothers was ignoring a formula that worked so well, but they still wanted to have the same type of success, but doing it in their own kind of like weird way.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy when you think about it. But with Wonder Woman, again, going outside of the film itself, and we're going to get a little bit into the film, or better yet, before we even talk about that stuff, because I feel like a lot of those things are really the bulk of the conversation here. Wonder Woman, just as a film as a whole, okay, what do you think was the better parts of the film? For me, I feel that the beginning and the middle were really the strongest parts of Wonder Woman. I feel that Themyscira was beautiful in the way that it was shot and the way that the stories were told, or at least the storytelling was kind of like progressed. And one of the things that Wonder Woman did that I was really worried it would do, because of the nature of like how this film was, how it was being perceived, and a lot of the chatter around it, I always thought that it was going to be in danger of like being way too preachy and kind of getting up and caught up in a lot of the political climate and a lot of the different types of social commentary. That's what's so kind of like prevalent now, you know, especially at the time that we're recording this podcast, is 2017. But there's been a lot of like, you know, tension, a lot of, you know, like sensitive subjects that are being talked about and thrown all over the place, both on and offline, when it comes to identity politics, when it comes to gender roles, which I think should be talked about, which are a very important part of society. But one of the things that I think is very good for great films that don't necessarily get too preachy is when they tell a point without kind of like being condescending to the audience. And that's what was my biggest fear with Wonder Woman, because again, a lot of people made a big deal about it being a female-centric cast, or at least a female lead, but mostly being directed by a woman, and that's how it should be directed, and all this stuff. And I was like, wait a second, what does this movie have to say? What is the movie going to present to everyone? Not just, you know, just the young girls or just young people out there, or people that identify as feminists or whatnot, but what is it going to give to people in general? What's the ideas and the concepts it's going to present to everybody? And I was proud and happy to see that that's the kind of route that it ended up taking. It wasn't too preachy. It wasn't condescending. No. It wasn't anywhere it was being kind of like, I don't want to say catering to one specific side of the audience and stuff, but it wasn't being mean-spirited. That was my biggest worry about it. That's the best way to kind of summarize it all, is being mean-spirited. But what did you think about all that? Did you feel the same way?
I think that it came from a place of innocence. In a sense of, Wonder Woman is on this island where she never really got in contact with men, and these are warriors, and she was trained hard in the arts and culture and everything else, and to step into a different world where the women are in a different place compared to where she came from. I think that because of that, it allowed it to be political, but at the same time, it didn't get too preachy. Yes, you had the concept of why women can't do this, why women can't do that, but you kept seeing her throughout the movie, her saying why not, and without even having to go into a big monologue about it. There were small scenes like you had. Remember when the men were in the courthouse, and it was like, "Oh, you can't be here," and she had that look, and that just her standing by the door. If I refuse to leave, she said a lot without saying anything at all. So I think they was able to balance out when to make a statement and when to show an action.
I agree.
And that's what I appreciated the most about it. Because I didn't want to come into a movie and saying, we're women, we can do this. And even though I'm a woman and I understand what it is and the difficulties, for about 2.5 hours or so, I don't want to keep being beaten in the head. We're women, we can do this. Show me, as opposed to just telling me. And that's what the big strong point was.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I feel like it wasn't mean-spirited about it. One of the big reasons why I feel like myself and a lot of other people didn't like the new Ghostbusters, which is a perfect counterpoint to all this, or a perfect comparison in the way that it handles not only just identity, gender roles and stuff like that, but with Ghostbusters, it felt like it was always trying to take a jab at the other gender. That it was trying to be a woman empowerment type of film, but always saying that men were inferior. Like it was trying to do a role reversal on society. And
absolutely.
While I understood like what the type of message they were trying to get out, I felt like it was just way too mean-spirited, and they didn't just go about it at all very well. Like it was executed poorly, in my opinion. With Wonder Woman, and why I feel like it works not just as a great film to show young girls or just young women about, like, again, just a little bit, motivating and showing some confidence, not only just as them, in their gender, but also them as individuals, was that same type of message could be applied to the other side. Same type of message and type of line of thinking could be applied to males as much as it can be to females. And that's what I thought was not going to happen when I went into Wonder Woman, because of the way that the movie was being talked about constantly before release. And I was happy that that wasn't the case. One of the other things that I thought was interesting too is that it never once, throughout the entirety of the movie, even, and I could even say maybe one time at the most, do they ever really put down men. Like there's always, granted, they're in the time frame of World War One, which is again a different time in world history, where there was a lot of different types of roles and different types of ways that things were done. But the juxtaposition between her and her line of thinking, coming from the Amazonian culture, being a warrior, where granted all of them have been women, but she has a different line of thinking than the people of the society she's going into, and it's not just men, it's women too. Like that, I thought was much more interesting, and the way that she talks about how, even that whole conversation when it's her and Steve Trevor in the boat, and they're talking about pleasure, how men are only necessary for procreation. There's a funny nature to it, and there's a lot of jokes to it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of women out there got a good kick out of that, no matter how you are. But it wasn't to the sense where she was putting down Steve as a man, and she wasn't putting down the male gender. There was an understanding there, but there's like, this is just how I feel, without being a jerk about it. And I feel like that's the best part about Wonder Woman as a film, is that it's getting a point across, it's getting ideas across without being a jerk.
Right, and if I could say one thing that I really love that you don't see in other movies is the fact that it relied heavily on teamwork.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily, it could have easily went, I'm a woman, I'm going to stop the war, I'm going to do this, you men sit over there. Every single person played a role. And so you had her working with Steve Trevor, you had her working with the other guy, and they had the Indian, and he talked about how he was basically discriminated against. It was basically a movie of everyone was being discriminated, and they had to come together to form a team. And without each other, there would be that weakness, and they would all fall apart. So it relied on, yes, I'm a woman, I'm not viewed as this way, and my rights are being taken away. Then you had the Indian guy, my rights was taken away as well. Then you had the guy who was, I'm really not sure what I think he wasn't black necessarily.
The sniper?
Yes, the sniper. And remember how in that one line, he said, I wanted to be an actor, but I was the wrong color.
Oh, no, I don't think that was the start. That was one of the other guys that was part of their team, I think, at one point. Like, again, this is all, for everybody listening now, this was all kind of like in the mid portion of the movie when they're in World War One. Like, they go to Europe at one point, and then they decide, I think, to go to Berlin, I believe it was, or at one point. And it's like when they go to that town, or way before they go to that town, before the big trench sequence, which we should talk about in a second, that everybody talks about. that was where most of these types of events happened, took place.
Right. And so you had, everyone had their own, they was discriminated against, and it was told that they wasn't equal, and they all came together to fight for the same common good, and everyone was put on the same plane. And when you saw them rescuing people, it wasn't like, well, we have to rescue the women only because men are oppressing them and trying to kill them. It's, we have to rescue the town. We have to liberate people. So that's what I loved and appreciated the most about it.
Agreed, yeah. Now let's talk about that trench scene, because I think that's the one scene or one sequence of events that people are making a big deal about in this movie, deservedly so up to a point. I feel like everybody's kind of twisting it a little bit too much, because there's a lot of metaphors there that people are getting out of it that I don't necessarily think speak to the greater volumes of that scene, where it's called No Man's Land, which is like the big kill zone in that area, where it's just like, again, bullets are flying and people will get killed as soon as you go out there. But remember, Diana, Wonder Woman herself, is not really human, per se. She's not the same as the humans that are there. So, a lot of people are inferring like there's a lot of, like, again, women empowerment thing where it's like it's called No Man's Land, but a woman goes into there and she kind of, like, again, is immune to the bullets and stuff. I feel like that's the wrong metaphor to get out of that. What I got more out of that scene, besides Diana actually saying, like, you know what, I'm going to do something about all of this when nobody's doing anything, I think that's a more powerful idea of, like, actually stepping up to the plate. And that goes beyond genders. That goes beyond people. That's a universal concept of, like, standing up to injustice and standing up to stuff that's, like, really bad. But also, when you look at that entire scene, to go back to the point you were making about teamwork, when she gets into the actual fire, she's distracting the guns, the Gatling guns that are going on. The guys all there are like, something, let's go over there and flank the enemy. And they all start working together while she's there doing her thing, blocking bullets with her shield, which, by the way, great scene, great, awesome action when it was going down, when she was just like taking all the bullets from all the Gatling guns. That's a really cool scene, the way it's shot. I think that was awesome. But like the way that everything played out after that, okay, I thought was really interesting.
Right, absolutely. And I think people really need to understand and know the definition of what a no man's land is. No man's land is basically a part of a territory that's left unoccupied because of the uncertainty of what to expect, which I think is a bigger metaphor for the movie and them crossing over to the other side, even when in a battle of war. You don't know what it is that you're expecting. You're entering in a no man's land, such as the whole entire movie is the theme and the concept of. And the point of the crossing over with them was to liberate these people. So I don't really see it as, the men against women, as people are trying really hard. And I think they're grasping at nothing to get at, to criticize this movie. So
yeah,
for me, that was completely like just you're criticizing something that just doesn't make any sense.
I don't even think that they were so much criticizing, because I think everybody loves that scene. I think that they're saying that scene is good because of that, though. At least from what I've been seeing on like social media,
right.
And even in a couple of reviews that I've read, where they're saying like that's like the biggest metaphor for women empowerment in this movie, which I can understand it. I get it that that's the inference that people are getting from, but I think there's a bigger message there, and I think that there's a bigger way where Wonder Woman herself shows such heroism, amongst everybody there, when there was something that they just were not able to accomplish there for a very long time. It's the same type of emotion and setup and feeling that I wanted to get from Man of Steel. And that, like, one of the things I kept saying, and we'll talk about it in just a bit, is that a lot of good aspects in Wonder Woman I want to see in the next Superman movie, because I feel like a lot of this more hopeful storytelling and a lot of this more kind of like inspiring storytelling, where you feel good about some of the events that go down despite all the chaotic and turmoil that stuff that happens. But that's the type of stuff I want to see in the next couple of DC movies, especially Superman, because I feel like what Wonder Woman did so good here is what Superman should have did from the very beginning. But that's just me and just my thoughts on it. I mean, do you agree?
I agree, and then also you could take it as yes, this is something that a woman has to do, and you can also view it as this is someone with her own superpower. You need someone who's going to be courageous enough. And remember, she was like, screw it, I'm going over. I can't take it anymore. I have to cross over. So it had many different meanings that I really loved and I really appreciated from that. And I do see how you want Superman to have the same kind of thing as well. You have this person who is an alien, such as Wonder Woman, and she has to accomplish something that no man or woman can do.
Exactly. It's a universal concept, and I think that's great. And that's what the DCU needs more of. Again, with all their heroes, not every hero needs to be like Batman. That was the biggest problem with the DCU, where they did after Nolan's trilogy and the success of the Batman trilogy that Christopher Nolan directed, they wanted to apply that same type of approach to every single one of their heroes. And we saw that in, Man of Steel? We saw that in Batman v Superman. We saw that kind of in Suicide Squad. I'm glad, like, this is the first time that we just saw the opposite of that in some form or fashion. And I'm hoping going forward, that's what we get with Justice League and the rest of the other DCU stuff. But I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the stuff that we didn't like about the film. I want to talk about some of the things that I felt were a little bit off base, or at least, you know, stuff that was kind of forgotten. One of the things that I felt like they never really truly made clear, and it has to be in some sort of like deleted scene somewhere, I feel like, because I don't think that they really forgot about this. I could be wrong, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They were never really clear about how strong Wonder Woman is. Like, the thing is, I'm not so much of a fan of her being considered a god per se. I like the idea of her being a demigod, which is technically what she is. She's the daughter and the child of a god, the daughter of Zeus. Okay, again, we're getting into a little bit of spoiler stuff, so again, bear with us here. But she's the daughter of Zeus, and while she's not necessarily a god per se, like what a lot of other people are considering her to be, she still is a demigod, so she could still have those abilities and stuff. But they never really make it clear throughout the entirety of the movie, where she gets injured by the blades that, you know, again, when she's fighting and sparring with the other Amazonians, or when she's fighting against the other people, she gets shot, I think, at one point in the shoulder. But then when she's in the battle during World War One, and you know, in the trenches and stuff in No Man's Land or wherever else, she could do all these like other crazy things, lift up tanks and do these other stuff, but none of that was really established like in the earlier portions of the movie, or there was never really a portion of that later half of the movie where it made it feel like she could still get hurt, or that she could still be harmed by the threats that were happening to her, besides Ares and all those other things. I mean, do you understand where I'm coming from, or like maybe I'm wrong?
No, the thing is, I view it a little bit differently. I view it as her, when she first coming into her powers, and when she feels the threat towards something, that's when it really shines through. Because you remember in the first part of the movie, when she did that thing with the wristbands,
yeah,
and
with her gauntlets,
with the gauntlets, and she shot the almost across the other side of the island.
Yeah, it's just that I don't think that it was really established, like, besides stuff like that, like, again, her abilities, but exactly how strong she is. Like, they say at one point... Yeah.
I don't think that she's at her highest strength yet, but I view it as her this is her first mission. And her first time of actually doing things and really flexing her strength.
Yeah, but that's my point, though, is, like, I feel like as you go through the movie, you know, when you start getting past that trench scene, when you start getting into more when they go to like the party scene, but before the whole airport scene and the climax of the film, I don't feel like they ever really, you know, littered through any point or really sat the audience down as like, okay, this is the reason why she's getting stronger, or this is what she can do at one point. Like, they kind of hint at it a little bit, where like the more she knows, like, again, like the more like Ares will find her and the more like she'll change and stuff, but they never give like a true explanation, or they never give like a true like clear way of like letting the audience know, okay, this is how this works. I felt like it was just almost plot convenient, and like you never want to get into the territory of where something's plot convenient, because it almost feels like a little bit hokey in a sense, where I don't feel for Wonder Woman as much. Like, I still believe she's super strong, she can do all these amazing things and stuff, but I feel like there's got to be something there to let me keep suspending my disbelief, where it'd be like, okay, this is the reason why such and such is real.
Well, I took it as her, we don't know, because she doesn't know. No one really sat down and explained it to her, so therefore we don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know if I necessarily like it like that. Like, I would have bought it. I would have bought it, in all honesty. It's like, okay, if they explain, like, okay, she's a demigod, and like only certain things could really harm her. The reason why she has to use her gauntlets to block the bullets, because technically the bullets could still harm her, even though they won't kill her. Like, I would have bought that. I would have bought something like that, or I would have bought the fact, like, oh, okay, the reason why Ares would be so harmful to her, because he's a god and stuff, and he's like super strong, he could legitimately kill her, because again, they even come out and say a god could kill a god. So technically, if she could kill Ares could still.
But she didn't know she was a god.
Yeah, and towards the end she found out. Towards like
right, and that's how she was able to kill him. So that's why I think they made it so that we didn't know, and they established that we're not going to know until she knows.
I don't know. I feel like they could have gone about it a better way, honestly.
Really? I didn't mind that.
Now,
because you see her different levels of strength, and because of the fact that she was in Batman Superman, you know how strong she really is.
Yeah, but I don't even think that we have to go by that. Like again, if we ignore what we saw in Batman v Superman, because I feel like you should, because of this being an origin movie and the way that they handled it and stuff. Again, they go back to when she was still a young girl. I feel like that's where the starting point for the audience should be for this film, like that, ignoring all the other stuff in the continuity. And that's another thing too. They almost made it a point for this movie to be like that, because you hardly see any references to the modern day, to Justice League and stuff. Like there's one reference to Bruce Wayne at the very beginning of the movie and at the very end, where it kind of bookends everything that happened, which is a nice touch, because you didn't really get that from any of the other DC movies, I feel.
That's what I hated the most.
Really? How come?
I just hated that. I thought it was, I hate those things where it's like you get something like a picture or it's like some type of a present and you stare off into the distance and then it tells the story.
Oh, you don't like the flashback? No,
I hate that. It's so corny.
I understand that, because I don't like time traveling stories, and one of the things with time traveling stories is that a lot of stuff could be retcon, or a lot of stuff could be made where you already know what's going to happen, so why go through all the motions in the first place? Like, stuff like that's annoying.
And then here's the problem that I hated as much, is that she gets the picture, and he finds the picture in the middle of Batman v Superman. So while she's staring off in the distance, Zod is technically running around killing everyone again.
No, I think that takes place after. Like, the stuff we're seeing in
really?
the modern
I thought
day,
it was at the same time.
No, that takes place after, because in Batman v Superman, he finds the picture, but what he does in this movie in Wonder Woman, he gives her the original. He finds the actual original photo, and in the Batman v Superman, he has a digital one. He asks her, like, what are you, or who are you? Like that.
Right. I thought that he has the digital one, and then at the same time, he sent her the original one. So as he's staring at the digital one and packing up the original one, he's sending out the email.
No, everything, when she's in Paris at the beginning of the movie, this is all after Batman v Superman.
Oh, I still hated it. So.
No, I understand the logic, though. I get the thinking with it, because again, it's a flashback, and that's just how flashback stories are. I would have rather had it where it's a story that it just began, like, with their mascara rather than the flashback, and then that's how we end Wonder Woman. We're in the modern day. She's looking at the photo like that. Right. That would have been interesting to me, but I understand why they went about it this way.
Or you can even start the movie with just the photo, and it goes into the story.
Well,
I don't need to see her receiving the package and emailing Bruce and sitting and thinking and knitting in the corner about Steve.
I don't know. I don't know if necessarily I would have started with the photo, because then it would have been like what a Nolan thing is, where it goes in different points of time. I would have started in Themyscira. I think that would have been the most perfect spot to start, is right when you're going into the island and you see Wonder Woman as a young girl.
And then end it with the photo? And
then end it with her in Paris, so she's looking at the photo, and end it the same way they ended the movie now, like that, and just have that to be the connection to the Justice League and the DCU.
Right, yeah, I just hated that beginning so much. And I kind of was really iffy with the camera work, and I hated that slow motion thing.
Oh, I wasn't a fan of the slow motion. A lot of people thought it was handled good. I didn't like it, because I felt like Wonder Woman looks better when she's moving around fast.
Right, that's what I want to see. I want to see she put in the work, she put in training to be this character. I want to see her as the character. I don't want to see slow-mo and, the hair flying in each strand. I don't want to see that. I want to see her in battle. That's what she's known for, are those wonderful battles and her going against everyone. And you slow-mo it, and for me, it just cheapens it. And they kept doing it so many times, to the point of annoyance.
Yeah, in that, after that trench sequence, and I think they did it a few times when she goes into the building where they're playing the Wonder Woman theme song that they use from BVS, which, by the way, supplemental note, I didn't love that music at all in BVS. I hate it. I thought it was a very obnoxious piece of music in the way that they used it. Here, it makes more sense in that setting. I get that, and then I accepted it a little bit more. When it's during that whole fight sequence, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. Because I always felt that music was very, very obnoxious in the way that they presented it. It just, I never dug it. However, the other thing, going back to the slow motion, I felt like Wonder Woman just feels more powerful and feels stronger, and every one of her actions has more weight to them when she's moving around super fast. Like, even during the time when she's getting shot at with all the Gatling guns, when she's moving the tank and she's doing all these different stuff, I felt like she was stronger in those than the slow motion fight sequences against the German soldiers.
Yes, absolutely. It just looked like a cheapened Matrix trick.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I want to wrap up with some of the stuff that happened around the movie. You know, a lot of the talk around the movie, per se, and then we'll talk a little bit about connections to the DCU. What did you feel about with the different showings that they had for Wonder Woman, or the ones that I guess they're coming up now? I don't know if they had them yet, but there's going to be all female, was it theater showings, you know, at night at like the Alamo Draft House and stuff to go see Wonder Woman. Like, well, do you have any opinion on that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh man, it's a gray area. It's a fine line that they cross because at the same time, yes, you want women to be empowered and you want that equality thing, but also at the same time, you're spitting in the face of equality and saying no men allowed. So I really don't understand that concept.
Here's the thing, and I walk a very filled minefields with this because I feel like there's a lot of sensitive notions about this entire thing. Like a lot of people get very sensitive and get very overzealous when it comes to talking about this. I have no problem with the women only showing. So, you know, as a man, it doesn't bother me because again, I saw the movie already, and it's not like, you know, I'm not going to ever see the movie. Like if they banned all men from seeing Wonder Woman in theaters, then I think that there's a conversation to be had about discrimination there in the face of equality. But I feel like a lot of this was made a huge deal out of, only for a couple different reasons. Number one, I feel like it's being done in a mean-spirited way just to jab at men, to say that we have this one thing. And I don't think that's right. Not with anybody, not just because I'm a man and stuff. If men were doing that too, and I'm pretty sure there has been instances of that, where men have done that at some point, it wouldn't be right either way. The other thing is too, where I think that a lot of people don't talk about this enough, is that a lot of this, the Alamo Drafthouse said that they're doing this for charity, that they're going to be donating. I believe it's to Planned Parenthood, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like while that's a noble goal and while that's a noble idea to do something like that, there's nothing wrong with donating to charity. What I think is wrong here is that there's a missed opportunity here, because if there was, you know, a real promotion for equality and celebrating Wonder Woman and celebrating a female heroine that a lot of people have wanted to be in theaters for a very long time, to show up in a movie like that. I feel like what they should have did, putting on my business hat now, okay, putting on my business hat, I feel like if you would have cut the price in half for women to go and still made men go pay at full price like that, you would have did more to accomplish that goal. Because not only does that accomplish the idea of promoting equality, but you would have made far more money at the Alamo Drafthouse for donating to Planned Parenthood than what you did right now at this point. But that's just me. Am I wrong here?
No, that actually is a really good idea with the men and the women paying different prices. But I would have actually preferred if it was a children's only screening.
But why children only? Why children only?
I think that this is a movie for children because it says you can be a woman and you can do anything that you want. Just because you're a female, you can do anything that you want, and it's empowering them. And you can have little boys go to the screening as well and say, look, women and men can work together. We can be a team. Everyone's equal. And I think that's something that you want to put into a mind of a child. So by the time that they're older, they already have that.
I could somewhat agree with that. I don't know if necessarily I would put it as like a children-only showing. Maybe I wouldn't really necessarily call it that. I think a lot of people would hear that and be like, oh, well, no, it's not really a kid's movie because of all the stuff that happens in there. There's violence, there's killing, there is sex, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I get the logic, though.
Yeah. But I just thought that it would just, I think it's a great learning tool for kids.
I agree. I agree that the concepts are there and the ideas are there. But to get back onto subject, though, with just the all-female showings, I feel like, again, I don't think that they're harmful, but I think it's very misguided, and I think it's very mean-spirited overall with the type of stuff that they're trying to portray out there and they're trying to put out there into the world, where, you know, promoting equality. I don't think it's necessarily promoting equality as much as it is just trying to stick it to the other side, and I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
So, on the subject of reviews with Wonder Woman and stuff, I feel like, you know, this is also a good point of discussion because I feel like a lot of places are being very hyperbolic. Now, tell me if I'm wrong here, but the reason why I feel like they're hyperbolic in a lot of different ways, a lot of the places are praising it. You see all the advertisements and people talking about how Wonder Woman is certified fresh. It's got a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. I don't think it's necessarily due to the content of the movie. I think a lot of people are really kind of, you know, seeing the movie through rose-tinted glasses because it's a female hero, because it's a heroine, because it is Wonder Woman. And I feel like a lot of places are being like that for a number of different reasons. Not everywhere. Let me be clear. Not everywhere. But there was a number of places in reviews I was reading that were like that. Now, tell me, do you agree with that statement or no?
No, absolutely not. This is coming from someone who came in there. I told you I refuse to see this movie. We've had this discussion.
Yeah.
And for me to sit and give this a glowing review means that I really liked it. I don't care who's starring in it. I don't care any of what type of groundbreaking thing they're trying to do and what type of message they're trying to promote. If it sucks, it sucks. If it's great, it's great. And Wonder Woman just happened to be very great. It was good.
No, I agree that, and I agree to that extent. But I'm talking about like even the stuff that we mentioned that we didn't like about the movie just now. Like there's
right.
a lot of places that are either outright ignoring stuff like that, or even like refusing to talk about stuff like that, and almost saying like it's one of the greatest films, not only of the DCU but the greatest superhero film of the last like generation. And I was like, that's not something I can really get behind.
It's not of the last generation, but I view it right up there. I view it to me as my top 6.
Top 6? Well, I think that's fair. I think that's fair enough. The reason why I say that is because I feel like, again, to really appreciate a movie and to really appreciate how good a movie is, you have to look at all aspects about it with this. For me, I agree that Wonder Woman is probably the best DCEU film right now to date. I really believe that, and that's mainly because the track record up to this point hasn't been all that great. Do I think it's the best superhero film out there? No. I think that, there's a lot of other solid arguments, even for movies that came out this year, as far as like being a great film that just happened to have superheroes in it and stuff.
No. Jumping on the bandwagon and saying that, this is great because this is the first female thing. Remember back when the last Batman movie came out?
For Dark Knight Rises?
Yes. And the critics, trashed it, and the fans went insane and threatened to kill everyone because
I remember that.
Because they believed that because the previous movies were so great that this obviously was going to be a great movie, and they bashed the critics. And then after the movie came out, everyone was kind of like, oh, you know what? It wasn't great. It kind of sucked. And, they quietly went away.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I think that people are being genuine with this. Yes, it had problems, but it was so good that it outweighed those problems.
No, I agree. I agree to say. Again, I just see like at least a few places being a little bit too hyperbolic with it. I feel like they're not acknowledging the film's faults and not looking at it through a genuine lens and just saying that it's so great just because of such and such. While not really looking at the full picture. Like at least with us, I feel like we've looked at the full picture and we both like the movie. We both like it a lot and stuff. But we're not going out there and saying that we like this movie solely because it's Wonder Woman, solely because it's a female kicking ass, or solely because of this stuff. And that's what I'm seeing in a bunch of different places. Yeah, that's what I mean by all this. It's like that's a lot of reviews that I've read have been, the way that they're written, the way that they're describing their feelings on the movie is coming off like that.
I don't see it that way.
It's not everywhere. Like I said, it's definitely not everywhere. I think that a lot of places...
You can always have some people who are afraid and jump on that bandwagon no matter what the movie is.
Yeah, of course, like straight up. But at least that's what I've noticed here and there with reviews of the film. Now, does the film deserve a lot of praise? Yeah. The film definitely deserves a lot of praise for what it's done. Now, one of the things I do want to know about, at least in your thoughts, is connections to the DCU. Like, what do you want to see now in the wake of Wonder Woman? What do you want to see with the rest of the DCU?
Oh, Lord. I want everyone involved with the Justice League. Well, it's too late now because they basically filmed it and then reshot it after what happened with Zack Snyder's daughter. And so for the whatever's being Aquaman, I think is coming out after. It's going to be the next one
after Justice League.
Yes, I want them to seriously take a look at Wonder Woman and say, what can I bring to Aquaman that's different than Batman and Wonder Woman, and apparently the Justice League. What can I bring that's going to make Aquaman a standout? And why is Aquaman so important that he deserves his own movie?
I agree.
And how can we make him a superhero like Wonder Woman? And when you have a superhero, remember, she's not a human. She has to be someone that can help the humans cross over to their other side of whatever it is, to find their greatness. You need someone that's going to elevate that movie. The problem with Batman and Superman, the problem with Superman itself, Superman was never treated as a superhero. He was never treated as necessarily an alien. We never really saw his struggles with being an alien, that as much as it could be. So I want them to go to Aquaman and to treat it like that. Why do we deserve this movie? What about Aquaman that makes him necessary in this world today? And hopefully from there, they can create a movie that I care about.
You know what I think it is also, and I think the common thread amongst all the DC movies up to Wonder Woman now is that, again, I said it earlier, those movies have just not been inspiring. Superman should have been an inspiring movie. The classic Superman stories, not just in the comics, but even the films like Richard Donner's Superman or any of the other incarnations of Superman on animated films and stuff and TV, have always been inspiring. And I feel like that's what Wonder Woman brings back to the DCU, because the DCU has been very depressing. It's been very, very low-key, very, very kind of, I guess emotional in like the worst sense, because it's like everything is just bad. Nothing gets better. Like people die, and Superman is just not an inspiring hero. People hate him. Everybody has a hard-on for Batman for like the longest time. Like at least that's what it's been like for the last couple of years.
And you see right there what you just said? That would make a great story in itself.
What?
Here you have a man, an alien, everybody hates, and they prefer the human instead. Batman.
Well,
that right there is conflict drama that we never even got.
We kind of got that, but we didn't really get it in BVS.
Poor job.
Yeah, they did a horrible job.
And also, I really want, show me. Don't tell me. Show me.
The other thing, too. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, I don't want people to sit there and monologue and say, he's an alien, he's bad. Erg. Show me why you think he's bad. Show me why we need Aquaman or Superman or Batman. Show me. Don't just sit a monologue and grandma's peach tea.
But the thing is that with Superman, I feel like you can't even really do that. What I felt like they tried that with Man of Steel and even BVS to an extent. And one of the big original pitches and the original ideas for the DCU was that what if superheroes were in the real world? And I got behind that because it was a more realistic take in the same vein as Nolan, where it was still Superman and stuff, but like what if his powers were applied to the real world? And that's a good idea. Where I feel like they lost it is that after Man of Steel and BVS weren't really so hot, and Suicide Squad kind of just dropped the ball and stuff, they lost their way with all those movies. And I feel like now the DCU is in a weird place. Granted, Wonder Woman was good, and they brought all that stuff that I said was really great about that film into the universe itself, but there's a lot of mixed waters all over the place with the DCU, including stuff about magic, which should have never really been introduced until Wonder Woman, I feel like, because magic in the way that it was presented in Suicide Squad was the worst way to go about things, because again, the threat level, the way that the heroes are presented or the other characters, and just the overall universe itself, and the way that the world's like constructed, it's like really weird overall. And I feel like now that Wonder Woman's come out, they have a better chance going into Justice League and afterwards to remedy that and kind of mix things around a little bit more to kind of put them in a much better standing. But it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me, even though Wonder Woman was still great. I feel like the ones that still got a better handling on it, and again, I'll go back to them, was Marvel, because again, they had the luxury of years to figure that out, and it's been a gradual introduction into a lot more of these fantastical concepts, because remember, magic was never a huge part of the MCU until even Thor was like more science than it was magic. And now with Doctor Strange, the way that they've gone about it and explained it and given reason for it to exist in their cinematic universe, I feel audiences are a little bit more accepting and a little bit more behind it now than what we've gotten with the DCU at this point.
And you know what also would make a wonderful thing? It's crazy. If everyone kind of worked together. The thing is, with Suicide Squad, it felt like each character literally had its own script written by its own set of people, its own team, and no one came together, and they just hot glued the script together, and that was the movie.
I agree.
And that's what I hope I don't get from Justice League. Here you'll have a whole bunch of characters written by 20,000 different people, it'll feel like, hot glued together, and we have to defeat this threat. Why? Because the script says so. So that's what I want. I want them to sit down, everybody who is involved, research, understand the universe first before you understand your character, and see what can each character bring to the team that's different, and why they have to work together, aside from here's what it says in the script.
Yeah, you got to feel like there's a little bit more thought behind everything, and again,
Well,
just
yeah.
a lot more universe building. I feel like a lot more consistent universe building.
And this is why I believe DCU shot themselves in the foot was when they released. Remember when they had that presentation? And here's all the movies that we have coming out, and here's the release
worst
date.
idea. Marvel kind of did that though. But we didn't really get a lot of that until after Avengers 1 and Avengers 2 was out.
But Marvel's established what it is that they're going to do.
And people trust Marvel.
People trust Marvel because they sat down there. Here's Avengers, and as they're doing Avengers, they already have and know the script for Avengers, 2, because they worked out Avengers 1. And they already know what's going on with Iron Man because they spoke to Thor and their people. Everyone worked together to create the same universe. And with DCU, I just feel like, everyone, here you go. Just go do your own thing, and we'll come together.
Everybody's playing catch-up.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And they're looking too much at what Marvel does instead of what they can do.
No, I don't think they're looking at them enough. I feel like they weren't looking at them enough. Like, again, they see what their success is, but they're just not copying it just to try to be different. That was always my thing. I always felt like that was one of their biggest shortcomings. So, in essence, now that Wonder Woman is out, and again, we've kind of deep dived into Wonder Woman overall, I feel like a lot of the good aspects of it, the more inspiring nature of the storytelling and the movies themselves, is what I want to see more kind of bleed out into Justice League, into Aquaman. I don't think we're going to get a Cyborg movie. I don't know if we're going to get a Flash movie. We'll get a Batman. We're going to get a Batman movie.
We're getting Cyborg.
Oh, we are? Like, we're still legit getting Cyborg? I don't know. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me thus far.
Nothing inspires confidence in me, but yeah, we're still getting a Cyborg movie.
Yeah. So with that being said, again, any final thoughts?
2020.
Oh, okay, 2020. Yeah. Any final thoughts just overall on Wonder Woman before we wrap up?
Overall, in Wonder Woman, this was a very great movie. But however, just because you have one success does not make you a winning team. Producing, and then you'll be a winning team.
Say that again, because you kind of broke up. Because I want to make sure that the listeners.
Oh, I said just because you have one movie doesn't mean that you won anything. It doesn't make you the best.
Yeah.
Keep working at it, and keep proving to us that you know what you're doing, and you'll gain more faithful followers, and people will love you. And also, at the same time, it's not a competition. Marvel and DCU should not be competing against each other. They both want the same thing at the end of the day. Take your time, pace yourself, and create content for the fans. And also create content for people who you want to be your fan.
You know something? I'm kind of the flip side of that. I think it is a competition, but it's not a competition of copycats. It's not about doing the same thing, in the same vein and who does it better. I think it's about doing your own thing and who does it better, because the DC characters are not the Marvel characters. The DC characters are some of the oldest and some of the most respected comic book heroes, of all time, straight up. Arguably more so than a lot of the Marvel heroes that have been out there. And what I feel like is that DC hasn't really kind of found their footing yet with their characters. They understand, they know that they have some of the biggest characters in the world, but I don't think that they've really kind of really molded them and molded their universe, their film universe, for them to exist right now, as well as Marvel has up to this point. But that's what I'm hoping for. Now that Wonder Woman has done pretty good, and while I think it's a fun movie, that's what I'm hoping happens now with the next one. The next one being Justice League. So, with that being said,
I think it's too late for Justice League.
Damn.
I'm sorry. Way too late.
We got Joss Whedon though. We got Joss Whedon, so he might pull Hail Mary.
There's a difference. He's not directing the whole thing from beginning to end. He's just working with Zack Snyder's direction in his script. He's just being the fill-in guy.
He's the audible. We called an audible for the DCU.
Yeah.
But either way, thank you, Dana, for talking Wonder Woman with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion about Wonder Woman the movie. Now, again, if you haven't seen it, I encourage you guys to go see it. Again, it's a fun movie, in my opinion. Dana loves it as well.
Yep, and I hate everything.
You hate everything? But we can't recommend it enough. I hope you guys are able to see it, whether it's on, in theaters or on home video. Yeah. Eventually when it comes out, DVD or even Netflix. But
it's releasing in the fall for DVD.
Okay, DVD and Blu-ray in the fall. So definitely check that out. when it comes out, guys. If you guys like these types of discussions, if you guys like these types of like, back and forth about movies, games, and all types of stuff, let us know in the comment section below. Tell me, you guys, your thoughts, your opinions. Leave some questions for all of us. Make sure that you hit us up on Twitter. Dana, where can they find you on Twitter?
I am at Sage Surge. So SAGESURGE.
Nice. So, and
like
me,
herb in the soda.
and me, you can find it at VenomousFatman1 on Twitter. Again, just reach out to us, say what's up, let us know what you guys think about the movies, about the DCU or Marvel, the MCU. We'll probably be doing more of these at some point. I know we're going to be doing some more discussions because we got Defenders right around the corner. We got Spider-Man Homecoming around the corner, which is also cool. We got Justice League next year. And then we also got a Thor Ragnarok at the end of this year. So there's a lot. There's a lot going down. So definitely, you guys have a lot to look forward to. But with that being said, I will talk to all of you guys again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.